A visit with Hank Williams, Jr. when we were in Coleman, Alabama. Hank, why do you live in Coleman, Alabama?
Well,
Among other places.
you know, when we went through this before one time, when I was going wacko in Nashville, about 72, 3, and 4 in there, and, you know, and that divorce and all that happened, I was with the doctor, and he said, where do you like to be? So, well, I got this friend down at Coleman with this fishing boat in Panama City. I like to go down there, and we go hunting, and then Granddaddy's just a little way down the road, and he said, you know what, I suggest you go there and stay there. That's what happened.
So it was a release for you.
Yeah, and you see, I took off the road nearly a year before that fall, and I was living in a cabin about like the movie over here on a lake, and that's how it happened.
Okay. There's an awful lot I want to get into. Your recent safari in Africa, your trip to the Yukon. You live an interesting life. Do you ever get bored?
No.
Okay.
It's essential to my happiness to not be bored.
All right. I don't like to bore people when on the. But
No, I read too much Hemingway and Ruark and stuff, I guess. I really like to go off on places like that.
You still like to collect guns, don't you?
Oh, yeah, man, and work on them, shoot them.
We're sitting in a room, which is Hank's office. How many guns in this room? Roughly.
Oh, no, 35.
That's all?
Probably. In this room.
I know you've always liked guns. How many do you own?
Oh, depending, different places, about 400, I think.
What is maybe the most valuable gun you own?
Oh, gosh. To me or in money?
In money.
Oh, gosh, these big old elephant guns, you know, these English double-barrel old-time 500 Nitro Expresses, you know, those kind of.
What are they worth?
20,000, 25,000.
Wow. You still own guns that were owned by your father?
Oh, yeah.
How many do you have?
I only have 7 of his guns. Unfortunately, they were kind of ran through after
He had.
died.
I have heard he had a big gun collection.
He had
too.
bedfuls.
Hank Williams Sr.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes Hank, we've heard these songs, "Living in the Shadows" and so forth.
Oh yeah, I've heard those too.
And I got the impression for years that you, and I think I'm correct, you were fighting for your own identity.
Well, later on, yeah. At first, I was fighting to be him, even myself.
Were you?
Oh yeah. The little boy was crazy about that.
I know that the night that you came out on the Opry stage when you were 14, I witnessed that, and people went crazy. People went crazy that night because they were so much in love with Hank Williams Sr., and you were there, the only thing that they could reach out and touch.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It didn't matter if he was 8, 10, 14, 18, 20. They loved it. You saw many a shows. You could have the hottest record seller of the day then. Well, I'm not following that son of a gun with what he's got to do out there, which was a reincarnation or a visit with Hank Williams.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Mother would want me to wear black patent leather shoes or nice little suits and all, and I wanted to wear those nudie suits, and I wanted those white, I wanted all those things.
You wanted the rhinestones?
Oh yeah, I wanted all those kind of things, music notes and all.
As a child, did it hurt your feelings when you heard the stories about the drinking and the bad side of Hank Sr.?
No, because I never heard that much, see. I was pretty protected there. It was always in a happy, not in a positive, not a negative.
Mm-hmm.
The musicians and all, boy, Hank was great. And then later on, it was a little different. That's when I wanted to get the real stories, you know. And that's when I came to a realization, too. He wasn't a god. He was human, you know. And it was so much easier to relate and to have a happy note instead of all the sad all the time. Sad, 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 you know.
You told me one time that, and now several years ago they made the picture called "You're Cheating Hard."
Yeah.
You told me they were going to remake the Hank Williams picture. Is that still in the works?
I don't know. They had the script. They had the guys came here. That was like 5 or 6 years ago. They came here. Like you said, there's been so much stuff in courts and all. I don't know if it's on or off. I wouldn't be surprised if one came out, next month, or if one didn't. I don't have any idea.
Hank, let me ask you something. I'm going to tell you what doesn't add up in your life, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, you love getting out hunting
Yeah.
and surviving and fishing and
Yeah.
the open country and the wilds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little older than you, Hank, and I remember in Umpers County when we lived on a farm with no electricity, and we heated with wood, and we had coal oil lamps.
Yeah.
And life was a little primitive. But you grew up in Nashville
Silver spoon.
with a silver spoon in your mouth, had
Right.
about anything you wanted. Your family was wealthy.
Right.
And I don't picture you as growing up as a child who had to fight to survive.
No, I didn't.
So that's where I run into some conflict when I think
But
about
every
you.
summer, I spent summers with a grandfather in Banks, Alabama, and I liked it a hell of a lot better than the society scene on Franklin Road.
Okay.
And I'm that way today. Yeah, I could have a lot of things, but I like being up in the Ross River territory up there and falling in the lake there in about 37-degree water. And this guy said, nobody would believe this. You can die in a deal like that, getting that
When
cold.
you were a kid, were you spoiled?
Oh, I guess so, sure.
Uh,
But maybe that's why I wanted to get away from that. Maybe that's why I went to Granddaddy's all the time, because I wasn't there. He would wear you out if you shot up his new battery for his tractor with your 22 or something. I got unspoiled quick there.
So he took the city boy who was raised with a silver spoon in his mouth
Yeah.
and taught him a more primitive lifestyle.
Well, the city boy had a lot of respect and all for him, more than he did what he'd seen on the road since he was 8 years old. And I like being in that situation in Montana or whatever, when there's blizzards and that kind of stuff. I like that. Or in Africa, when we lost half of the camp on this last thing to a big fire, burned up, and I ran over there and I had everything out of the thing, and I pushed it off this riverbank, and he said, hey, that song's kind of true, ain't it?
What a country boy can.
And I said, well, I wasn't going to sit around here and watch it. We had 3 people badly burned. I wasn't going to sit around here and throw my hands up and wet on myself and say, oh, my goodness, what's happening?
You could have been a playboy, but didn't. Or you didn't go that
Why
route.
not mix it?
Huh?
I like to be a hillbilly. Ladies like to go to cabins in Montana and stuff.
Yes, I bet they do. Hank, let's talk for a moment about the television movie Living Proof, based on your book.
Yeah.
Do you like the way you were portrayed?
Yeah, it got the story across. I think Richard Thomas is a great actor.
Did you pick him to play you?
No, I didn't pick him.
Were you a technical advisor on the picture?
Yeah. That picture was started 2 years before it was made. In fact, I pretty well stopped it because of Richard Thomas and the John Boy image, In fact, he called me in Paris, Tennessee one day, and I didn't know who he was. I was watching a football game on TV, and I made the statement to this man on the phone that I felt, man, I was excited. I'm 31 years old. He's going to make a movie about me. This is great. It's fantastic. And the script, the story, and I know that it was picked over some other stories. And the only complaint I had, this John Boy, I just don't think he can cut it.
Yeah, he was in the Waltons as John Boy.
And that was Richard Thomas on the phone I was talking to.
Oh, you were telling him that?
Yes.
What did he say?
I didn't know it was him, see? And he said, this is me. And he like Becky said, well, if he had any ego problem, I'm sure you fixed it now. And he said, hey, you're a good writer and a good singer. And all he said, and I'm a good actor. And then Ernest Borgnine told me one time on a talk show, he said, "Hey, that kid is fantastic," and he is fantastic. He does plays, you know, and so here a couple of years later, you know, it all came together. And what that did, it showed the person in North Dakota or Minnesota or you know, somewhere, some out of the way places, they don't know Hank Williams Jr. except by name, but it showed them something probably far different than what they had imagined from the silver spoon we were talking about earlier in the week.
Well, I think now you have macho image, you know, you sing.
Oh yeah,
You sing macho songs.
yeah,
I think
Johnny Cash type.
Yeah.
That's what Merle tells me. It's like when he was on Johnny's shows. But this showed, you know, it wasn't all wine and roses in the earlier part of my career in life. That was the main thing about the movie, and it showed how it was. Being pushed a little bit, you know, do this, do that.
Let me ask you a crazy question. You ever gone to sleep and dream you could fly?
Well, no, I'll get real serious with you. I've gone to sleep and dreamed when I went off that mountain what it felt like to fly when you wasn't planning on flying.
You have many dreams of the fall?
Not anymore.
Did you used to?
Uh-huh.
Hank, how many operations have you had?
8.
When did you have the most recent?
February of '83.
So it hasn't been that long. Is that the final operation?
Yeah, that's enough for me.
All right. Are they still doing reconstructive surgery?
The last one, they put a little Pyrex tube in my right eye in the tear duct because this eye used to tear freely, and that tear duct was severed and gone, destroyed. And he's done several other. Bobby Allison had a accident. He's done several people with this operation. Came out a complete success. And he also made this eye look better than it used to. He raised the canthus and he put in this Pyrex tube, and you know, it took about 3 or 4 days. I was glad to do it. That's the last one.
When you work on stage, do you still work in the dark glasses?
Oh yeah.
You're gonna
Pretty
continue?
sensitive to light.
You're going to continue that?
See, I can't. Mine are prescription glasses. I don't see well. I couldn't shoot good at all if I didn't have glasses on. They're not just glasses; they're prescription glasses. I'd fall all over microphones and guitar chords.
Do you not see well because of the accident, or have
No,
you
before that, and then that took out, you know, some more.
Okay. Now we referred to the accident, and I'm assuming most people know that you had a terrible fall down a Montana mountain.
Yeah.
And you almost got killed.
Right.
I suppose if it hadn't been for the cold temperatures, you would have died.
Cold temperatures, clean, and the doctor said you was left here to do something. Because you were in pretty rough shape.
Do you believe, as some people do, that when it's your turn, you will go?
Yep. A guy can go out here on his motorbike in the woods, you know, and not even on the highway and fall. You know, and you look at a man that's laying there in the coffin, don't have a mark on him, he's got a broken neck, or a friend of yours goes in a deer stand, falls out of a deer stand, boom, he's paralyzed or he's dead. Or you can get half of your face and your brain knocked out, literally, and lay up on top of a mountain 100 miles from anything and put 8 pints of blood in you and you live. So I sure believe that.